my faithful subscribers. I am so glad to be here. I almost feel like I haven't done an episode in a while, even though I have, but it just goes to show how I love sharing the good news with everyone. I would like to officially announce that I will be starting one-on-one deliverance session from October because God has called me to do it. A lot of people are battling issues like stagnation, backwardness, depression, gluttony, witchcraft attacks, serpents moving in their bodies, constant nightmares, etc. The Lord knows that these issues will require one-on-one sessions. And for those following my Rebirth in Christ and Spiritual Diagnosis podcast, know that I haven't shied away from telling you that while you need to start personal deliverance, there will come a time that you would need to seek a godly deliverance minister. Well, if you aren't working with a minister that God has led you to, then you can consult me and I'll book free deliverance sessions so you can be delivered. Of course, consult the Lord first. The link to book a deliverance session is in the description box down below. I have another loaded episode today, and I would need you to put on your thinking caps. For the Yorubas out there, or those who practice Yoruba Traditional Religion, please and please, do not come for me. Do not be offended with this podcast episode, because I'm here to reveal the truth to you, and it's left to you to do your own research and ask God about it. I am not a hasty person, so I won't put up an episode of lies just for sport. People get very emotional or agitated about certain topics because the ruling party in them does not want them to be free. What do I mean by that? I was trying to explain this message to some people last week, and they wouldn't even look at the research I had because of how offended they were. Offense is a very, very bad spirit. And spirits like Mami Water, pride, anger, Oshun, the spirit of the sea, Gemoje, Olokun, Jezebel, and Lucifer himself will be whispering to you that what I am saying is wrong, or I am not saying the right information. Some will say, my grandmother did it this way, my mother did it that way, my forefathers did it that way, so I will continue. So if your family and those your predecessors were doing something wrong, so you want to perpetuate that same cycle down to not only yourself but your children, just because that's your ancestors, did it this way, you too want to do it that exact same way. So if your ancestors were walking and they didn't know that there was a ditch in front of them, and they fell into that ditch, and the ditch was full of fire, so they burned to ashes. So you would like to follow them too to that same ditch and fall inside as well, just because of the fact that they did it that way, you too want to do it that way. Satan is so cunning. He wants the entire lineage to go down with him. May your case not be like that, and may you be the outlier. And not only that, but may you educate your own family as well, in Jesus' name. Ask yourself, who has anything to gain if you make heaven? Is it you or the familiar spirits you are listening to? I would rather not say anything on my YouTube channel and have my YouTube channel blank than for me to be uploading going live and spewing lies. That will not be me. Hence, to all my truth seekers who promise me not that they will not be offended by the information I'm about to disseminate, but to take my messages to God, then let's go. Well, as you may know from the title of this episode, I will be discussing Oríkì and to a lesser extent, Egbe. Oríkì is another word for your crown, your origin. Oríkì is a Yoruba prayer of praise concocted as an instrument of praise for the baby, but instead is a serenade to demons, otherwise known as Orisha in the Yoruba Traditional Religion or Ifa divination system. And Oríkì is a Yoruba greeting of the word Ori, meaning head, and Ki, meaning to greet or praise. Oríkì, often defined as praise poem, is a Yoruba verbal art form. Examples of Oríkì names are Ajoke, Alake, Anike, Ashake, Ajoni, Akoni, and Ajagbe. You've seen it on Game of Thrones. Daenerys is introduced as Daenerys Stormborn of the house Targaryen, first of her name, the unburnt, queen of the Andals and the first men, Khaleesi of the great grass sea, breaker of chains, mother of dragons. That is an Oríkì. Now, the Bible tells us that the dragon is equivalent to Satan. So you don't need me to tell you whether that was an occultic show or not. But let me not digress. That is an Oríkì. Oríkì are poetic verses, sung or recited in praise of a person, a family, or a tribe. It exists across the Yoruba cultural spectrum. It includes special Oríkì for children born with certain characteristics. Examples are Ige, a child who came out with the feet at childbirth. Taiwo and Kehinde, who are twins. Aino, a female child born with the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck. And Ojo, if a male child. All these children have their specific Oríkì. Every Yoruba family has its own Oríkì too. And it is this form that is most endangered. The Oríkì is viewed as a spiritual channel of transmitting the collective consciousness of ancestors, aka Orishas, to children of the next generation. Each child at birth is given a prefix Oríkì in addition to his names, which, like the Spanish, could be several names. This prefix is then added to the established immediate family Oríkì, followed by the extended family narrative, which is then to the town Oríkì narrative. What am I saying? In witchcraft terms, Oríkì is a chant. Some view Oríkì as a nickname, like I did previously, until I got the revelation of what it's actually about. The family Oríkì praise poem supposedly tells the tale of the events of the family's ancestors. What better way for Satan to perpetuate generational cycles than to have you sing these songs to the next generation and onwards? A tool that witchcraft uses is self-destruction. The ancestral spirits, aka Orishas, will find a way for the entire lineage to have some affliction or destructive behavioral or cyclical pattern. which is the real reason why Oríkì became a thing in the Yoruba traditional religion. If you ask the traditionalist, Ifa priestess, Ifa priest, they'll tell you that it's a rich part of the culture and something to be cherished. But if you know Satan's tactics like I do, you will know that's a lie from the pits of hell. How can you fight an enemy you know nothing about? Egbe is another lie that Satan tells people that they belong to keep them in bondage to these ancestral powers. Egbe, which is usually referred to as heavenly mates, is nothing but witchcraft association. There are Egbe meetings that Yorubas attend in the physical realm, in their towns and cities, as if it's something to be celebrated, because they either don't know any better or they have fully given into serving these gods. The Egbe meeting can be attended either in the physical realm for both conscious and unconscious witches through astral projection of soul travel, or can be attended physically by going to the meeting place in your community. The Egbes are associated with the specific gods or group of gods. Usually water spirits are involved because Africans worship the water mostly. Also, to be frank, even Americans, the Greeks, and Hindu followers worship the water too, along with other non-water deities. 70% of the earth is made up of water, so it's not unusual that these spirits control commerce, trade, cities, people, and regions. Africans were taught in school about Oduduwa and his adventures, only to grow up and realize he's a god. It's like growing up and realizing that Ariel of Little Mermaid is an actual demon. People of God, we have to wake up from slumber. It's not a coincidence that African gods like Sango have their own Oríkì. There are traditional dance steps attributed to Sango used in communal festivities. There are also Oríkì Egbe chants, and Egbe is an occult group that a lot of Yorubas belong to, and people can belong to more than one Egbe, since the Egbe, which is an association rather, is a god. So people do serve more than one god, intentionally or unintentionally, because most are born into it. Others have their Oríkì, such as Oduduwa. What I find very uncomfortable about it is that while the Oríkis have seemingly good meanings, they are not in fact good. The meanings hold a very destructive simplification of what your life will look like. It's similar to horoscopes. And when people say, "Oh, I'm an Aries," and believe the readings, you accept by the law of agreement all the terrible connotations that come with such sun signs. That's exactly what happens here. And it's not just Yorubas that have Egbe. Other Nigerian tribes do as well, whether they call it Egbe or not. Every time you are involved in some traditional rite, whether it's traditional marriage or traditional naming ceremony or traditional festivals such as Eyo festivals, Ogun festivals, you are serving these Orishas, aka gods. Oríkì is tied to your glory, so you are in essence stripping the child of their God-given destiny for the destiny that the gods deem fit. Do you really think it's not the gods in your parents that selected the name they chose as your Oríkì? Why do you think like-minded people are attracted to each other? Because the gods in one, the friends, the gods in the other person. That destructive cycle of toxic friends is because the gods in you won't allow you to have healthy relationships or friendships. Have you noticed some people will date the same person in different women or men and keep wondering why they are attracting the same character in different girlfriends or boyfriends? Well, Orisha in one, let's say Oshun, is willing to join forces with Yemoje in the other, even though they don't like themselves, right? But they are willing to band together to bring the two dating partners down, because after all, they are water spirits, they are spirits of the damned, however you want to call them. They are spirits of the dark kingdom. So they'll rather work together than for them to allow you to have peace. There are cases where both persons can even have Oshun in them, which makes for an even better arrangement of toxicity. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Africans migrate, so Yorubas migrate to Brazil, right? And that Yoruba will take their Yoruba gods in them along for the ride. Also, the kingdom of darkness bands together, as I've explained before. So African deities still operate in regions such as America. A lot of things you've grown up with and ascribe to your culture is demonic. So, if you don't wake up and renounce these deities, break covenants, and start doing deliverance prayers on yourself for a start, then you are exchanging your God-given glory for these gods to be wreaking havoc in not just your life, but your children's lives. And of course, that goes without saying, your children's children, and in fact, your entire bloodline, down to the last person before the second coming of Christ. After starting self-deliverance, ask God to lead you to a deliverance ministry that will support you. Thankfully, I've started doing deliverance, so I'm here to support you if you choose to book an appointment with me. Now, I believe if you are truly serious about getting delivered, you need to take these podcast episodes that I put out very seriously. I would encourage you to say the prayer in the episode titled Renouncing and Denouncing Satan's Kingdom, which I have linked in the description box below. Furthermore, if you would like, you can visit www.yorubaname.com, where you can search for the meaning of your Yoruba Oríkì if you want to go more in depth with the renunciation. Now, we've come to the end of this episode. And for those that have stuck around, thank you so much. I love you, and I hope you have an amazing day. This is Visionary for Christ, where we live for Christ always. Shalom.